Michael Rand here with your Lynx post-game live stream here on X, probably replayed on YouTube as well. Unbelievable. Lynx were down in this game, game one of the WNBA Finals, 81-66. It was 81-66 with 5:20 left in regulation, down 15 with basically half a quarter to play in this game. It's not like they were playing terribly. New York was just making a ton of shots. It looked like it just wasn't going to be the Lynx night, and then it just started happening. The first big fall, right? Kayla McBride hits a 3-pointer, gets it within 12. Tasha Hedeman makes a 3. Now it's 9. Chipping away. Nafisa Collier gets it back to 9 again. Courtney Williams makes a jumper. Then it gets really crazy. Collier makes a layup. Williams makes a 7-foot floater. And then Williams makes a 3-pointer, gets fouled, up 1. Chaos, except New York gets fouled in the closing seconds. Breanna Stewart, one of the greatest players of all time, one of the greatest players of our generation, misses the second free throw. Overtime. And then overtime is just as bonkers, right? The Lynx have a 4-point lead late, 2 bad turnovers. New York ties it. Nafisa Collier with the turnaround jumper with about 10 seconds left. And that is your ball game. I don't know what more you can say about this other than it was just an absolute masterclass in resilience by the Lynx, resilience by fans. If you gave up on this one, shame on you. I was ducking in and out for the first 3 quarters, just lots going on, watching the Wild, putting kids to bed, stuff like that. But I locked in late in this game, and the reward obviously was one of the greatest wins I've ever seen in a clutch moment. 15 points down with 5:20 to play, and they win this game. You can say they stole it. Kind of feels like they did based on how far down they were, but they also earned it, right? Like, this wasn't just like fluky. They came back. You could tell they believed. As soon as they got it into single digits, you could tell they believed they were going to be able to get this thing done, and they absolutely did. Just an amazing masterclass in resilience. Nafisa Collier was huge all night. She finishes with, I'm just going to go to the board here, box score. I'm going to show you the box score in a minute here, but I'm also going to run some Twitter questions, show you those Twitter questions. Nafisa Collier plays 43 minutes, barely rests in this game, 10 of 16 from the field, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 6 blocks, 21 points. McBride had 22. Williams had 23, absolutely huge late in this game. I know she had a turnover late. That was bad, but she was absolutely clutch late down the stretch. Just one of those players that you absolutely want to have on your side. Just one of those games where everybody brought it, everybody believed, everybody came up big in the end. Now they're up 1-0 in this series. They're up 1-0 in a series, in a game where you didn't think they were going to do it, right? Once they're down, like I said, 15 with 5 minutes left, you're like, okay, probably not their night. Move on to game 2, maybe rest some players. They were probably close to that. They were probably close to having to just empty the bench and say, you know what, not our night. But it turns out it was the Lynx night. Just a ridiculous, unbelievable, amazing comeback. And of course, like, early in the day, we're having like our Lynx planning meeting. We're having our like overall like sports planning meeting. We're talking about like what happens, what are we going to do tonight? What are we going to do like live stream wise or podcast wise? And I'm like, you know what? It's going to be a long day. We already knew. This was yesterday. We were talking about we already knew by noon today. I'd already done 2 podcasts, right? Like the regular podcast this morning, and then we find out the Twins owners, Carl Pohlad, the Pohlad family is selling the team. So I'm like, I don't know. Something amazing is going to have to happen because we've already worked, a lot today. We've already done a lot today. So I'm like, if they win or if something dramatic happens, yeah, let's do something after the game. And I mean, this definitely qualifies as both a win and something amazing happening after the game. So now, best of 5, right? They've taken home court advantage. They've taken home court advantage from the Liberty, who worked all year to get it. The Lynx took it in 10 minutes of game action, 5 minutes of regulation, 5 minutes of overtime. That's all it took to erase 40 games worth um, of home court advantage earned over the regular season. Also, this is 4 times now the Lynx have beaten New York in 5 games this season. And I know the narrative coming in out of New York was, yeah, they beat us 3 out of 4, but maybe we didn't have all our best players for all those games. Maybe we weren't completely focused. It's going to be different. I don't think they've seen our best game. And you know what? Credit to New York for 3.5 quarters. That was true. New York looked like the better team. They were making all their shots, things like that. So you have to give them credit for that. However, the Lynx won this game 4 times out of 5 this year. The Lynx have won. They've got to be in New York's head a little bit. Like New York's got to be like, what do we got to do to put this team away? What has got to happen for us to beat this team? I don't know what it's got to be, but right now it is unbelievable that the Lynx won this game. Got Black Sheep weighing in on the stream here. Says the officiating down the stretch was appalling. There were some calls either way. I mean, the out of bounds play was questionable. I did think it was. I thought the foul when they fouled Brianna Stewart. I thought that was a good call. It looked like they hit her. It was definitely before the before the buzzer. I'm glad the game wasn't decided on that though. I'm glad that wasn't just 2 free throws, ball game. Lynx lose 85-84. That wouldn't have felt fair. That wouldn't have felt like he did the game justice. So it's the fact that she gets fouled, makes 1 of 2, gets them level, go to the overtime. I think that was a fair way of going about things. So I'm glad it didn't at least determine the overall game. They also said Fee is the best overall player in the state, including the men. I can't argue with that. Anthony Edwards is tremendous, but Nafisa Collier is the second best player in the entire league right now behind AJ Wilson. She is just that good. She is just that clutch. Of course, the turnaround clutch jump shot in this game, just amazing, just ridiculous. An amazing comeback. Patrick Manley saying he's wondering why didn't they review the out of bounds that went off of Stewart's foot? I don't know. I don't know why that doesn't get a review. I don't know why there's not a triggered automatic review in that case. It looked like it did go off her foot. Looked like the Lynx might have caught one in overtime, though. The one that looked like it maybe went off of Williams instead, given back to the Lynx. I do wonder if the shot that she got blocked, if that went off her hand after it got blocked. So, again, I'm not saying always goes both ways. Got to call it both ways, but I did think that there was some in both directions. Let us go to some Twitter questions. I'm going to bring them on stage here really quick. Twitter questions right now, a whole bunch of them. Twitter questions, Twitter comments, things of that nature. Monica says, Game 7 comeback for the Wolves and Game 1 comeback for the Lynx. Both were epic. I think a couple different people said, we had this game and that game in the same year. Unbelievable, right? The Wolves came back. I think that was 58-38. They were down to the Nuggets in Game 7 of the NBA Western Conference semifinals. Think about this, though. This is 2 steps further. The Wolves needed that game to get to the conference finals. The Lynx already got past those stages. They're already in the finals. To do this in Game 1 on the road, both of them unreal games, but I have to say this is even a little bit more impressive. Luke saying first 3 podcast day. I don't know if this is technically a podcast. I don't know if I'm going to put this up as a podcast. I think I'll have more coherent Lynx thoughts in the morning. But yeah, it's the first time I've had three different things in a day like this. That's for sure. But you know what? That's what we got to do. Tyler Mason, can you get Flea on the pod? Flea, the bass player from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Gotta love Courtney Williams. Yeah, I'll try to get Flea on the podcast. I did have the guitarist from Creed a few weeks ago, so why not have Flea as well? Brian says incredible resilience from the squad. I've said that too. Unbelievable that they were able to come back. They were able to play that well down the stretch after being down by 15. You got to tip your cap to how they were able to be resilient in that game. Again, Skolny saying the same thing about Game 7 and Game 1 of this series. You're going to watch. Maybe flip over to the Wild. Did that a little bit. So you kind of had a couple different things going on, but it would have been easy to give up on this game, right? It would have been pretty easy to say, you know what, not their night. Even as just a fan, not just not a Lynx player, but as a fan, you might have just been, like, you know what, I gave it a lot. Got to go to bed now. It just wasn't their night, but I'm thinking, You guys were probably pretty well rewarded for that. Wild did win, by the way, 3-2. Held on to beat the Blue Jackets. Eric Sinek, Boldy had big games. If you switched over to that, not all was lost, right? Like that was still a good game, but this was the one you really wanted to be watching. Black Sheep. Oh, Black Sheep showed up on Twitter too. Said Fee needs more love in this market. She's an absolute killer. Yeah, she is tremendous. We've already talked about that. I mean, how good she's gotten, right? Like, remember she came into the league, 6th overall pick. You're like, wow, they kind of got a steal. This is a really good player. They can build around this player. Then it's like, okay, she's a little bit better than good. She's very good. She's becoming one of the better players in the league. You know, all-star, top 15 player in the league. That also is like she made a jump. She misses most of 2 seasons ago. Has a baby, unbelievable, comes back and is better than ever, was terrific last year, even better this year, MVP candidate, defensive player of the year. The way she's continued to grow her game, to get better and better every year, is really the mark of a professional, but also someone who has managed to take her game to another level. It's just amazing to watch her play. Andrea Yook says, Courtney Williams, heart, the end. Yeah, she's a little bit of an experience watching here. Sometimes you're like, no, yes, kind of player. But man, if you're the Lynx, you're happy she's on your team. You're happy she's willing to take those big shots. She had a huge 3 in overtime as well. Had a couple big buckets in overtime. Yeah, there was the turnover, but she made 5 times more plays than she missed in the end, and that's a player you absolutely have to have. Tom T. Gage, my old neighbor, says, my 11-year-old couldn't believe the finish. I had flashbacks to watching the 1991 World Series at the same age. Don't give me flashbacks of that. 91 World Series, as I might have talked about before, is one of my more painful sports memories because I was an Atlanta Braves fan back then. But for most of you, that is a good comparison. So thank you, Tom. Just an amazing game, right? Just unbelievable win for the Lynx. Unbelievable viewing experience. I don't know how they're going to top that, right? This felt like 5 games in one. I don't know how they're going to top this games 2, 3, 4, and 5. What I do know is they've got an incredible advantage now. When you were able to go in and win a game like this in game 1 on the road, just gives you such a tremendous advantage going forward, right? Like you can win, you don't have to win another road game now. You can win your home games and win the whole thing. So there you have it. A Jordan popping into the chat, by the way, saying broadcast stated that the league removed auto review on out of bounds calls, so that would have had to have been challenged. So there you go on the ball that went might have gone off of Stewart's foot, not auto review. So I want them to get it right, but I also don't mind the fact that these things don't take an hour to play the last 2 minutes. There was a certain crispness to it. You kind of live with the calls. A couple of them went the Lynx way, a couple of them went against them. So I guess that's the way it goes. Unbelievable in the end. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Thanks you guys for sticking to the game. Thank you so much for your Twitter comments, your X comments. I'll have some more coherent thoughts, probably some post-game audio from Cheryl Reeve and some of the key players on tomorrow morning's Daily Delivery podcast. Lavelli Neal III on tomorrow's podcast as well, talking Twins, a little bit of Vikings, all sorts of stuff, but definitely going to have to come back and lead with the Lynx because, man, what a game, what a night, what a day.